So originally I started out going into archaeology at Texas A&M University. I wanted to go and dig up old stuff and figure out how people interacted with that old stuff. And then I got out of college and I realized that this might be probably the not the most stable career path ever. And while I was sort of floating around trying to figure out what my next step was going to be. My stepdad came home with a brochure for the Guildhall at SMU. So what the Guildhall is a graduate program that teaches game design in all the fields, so production programming, game design, and art. I said, "What the hell? I'll apply," and I got in. It was something that I hadn't considered for myself until then. I didn't think that it was possible even, and so that was kind of my first entry into actually designing games for real. So when I was doing my coursework in Guildhall, you do individual projects and you also do group projects. And the things that I gravitated towards in both of those was scripting more broadly, which is sort of programming light. It's working with almost English coding languages that you string things together and make things happen. In particular, I really liked working. We worked mostly with Unreal 3 at that point, so I did a lot of stuff in Kismet, and I really enjoyed it. And so I decided to build myself as more of a scripter and like someone who sets up encounters and makes things happen, as opposed to someone who sets up maybe more environmental stuff, which is a path. It was really intense. It's 2 years. It's something you don't want to take a side job in. It demands a lot of your time. There's 3 student projects in the guild hall. It starts off relatively small and gets bigger. So your first one is always like 4 to 5 people, and it's always 2D. So my first group project was 0 and 1, which is 2 little robots, and they go around, and it's a co-op game. My second one was Steam Drunk, and we had to do networking for this one. We had to do multiplayer networking game of some kind in Unreal. So we came up with kind of a PvP thing. So that was about 9 people or so. And then for what's called our capstone project, we decided it's about 15 people, and we decided to do a stealth only game for that one, which is Identity. And they're all super cool, but they took increasing amounts of time as we went on. But we learned skills like how Perforce works, how do commits work, how do you back out a commit, how do you figure out who broke the build, important skills, and how to negotiate time, and most importantly estimate your time. I went to GDC while I was still at the Guildhall, still doing some coursework. And the biggest thing I can say, by the way, for going to GDC is don't go to the talks. Go to the expo. This is where you will get the job. The talks are not where you get the job. And Hangar 13, 2K in general had a booth there, and Hangar 13 was having a talk there, and I had researched them the night before, and I knew they had a few openings, but none for junior. So the talk right beforehand was for 2K basketball. I did not want that job, but I went there early so I could sit in the front row of basketball, so I could be guaranteed a front row seat for Hangar 13. Through that, they did a talk on studio culture, and I found it really compelling. And so afterwards, I went up and introduced myself to Hayden, and I said, I'd really like to work for you. I'm a junior, but I really think I could help you out. They hadn't announced Mafia 3 at this point. They were working on a mystery project. They liked what interaction they had with me, and they said, okay, we'll give your resume to the recruiter. The other thing is, that I can say if you're going to GDC for a job is get some kind or rent some kind of iPad or something similar, and upload your resume onto there so you can show them in real time, because the Wi-Fi is awful down there. Download it so you can show them in real time. Here, look, here are all my shinies. Don't you want to employ me? And have business cards at the ready, because that's what I gave her. I didn't necessarily have printouts, but I said, hi, here's my business card. You may find my resume in multiple different helpful formats on my portfolio website. She said, okay. And the design test basically set up a mission, do the documentation for a mission of how you would do it, and based on these guidelines. So I did that and I submitted it. I had a week to do it, and I just barely made it. I didn't finish maps, and I was so concerned that I was not going to get the interview because I didn't finish the maps. But no, that was not what they were interested in. So I get a call from the lead mission designer, and it's just a regular phone call, and they had reviewed my design test. They liked it. And this phone call was more to sort of do culture fit. So a lot of times what a phone call is designed to elicit is, are we going to click? Is this someone I can work with during hard times when the pressure's on? Are they cool? So I also passed that test. And after that, I got a call from HR, and did salary negotiations. I knew I was going to come in as a junior because I had, graduate school experience at that point, but I wasn't going to get mid-level. I wasn't expecting to. I researched through Glassdoor and some other places income of somebody living in this area would be. And so I tried to just meet that. I didn't try to go over it for this one. And so I just hit it at that point. And didn't try to go any higher because I was trying to get my foot in the door. And my thinking was, even if the contract's just for a year, that's still valuable AAA experience. I can take that somewhere else. And so, I wasn't as hard at negotiating when I was trying to get the job. Nowadays, once I'm actually in the job, I try to do my negotiation based on, here are the things that you've asked me to do. Here is how I have gone above and beyond your expectations. May I have a raise? If someone is applying as a mission designer, what we want to see is their thought process behind how they design things. We want to see maps. We want to see that you've thought about the overall progression of the thing. We want to see design documents because that's how we communicate in between designers. So you want a design document that's clear enough that I can pretty much make a mission based just on your design document, and it'll be fairly close to what you had in mind. It should be that level of detail, not just, oh, and you fight some dudes. Like, how many? Which ones? What level are they? What equipment do they have? And have you think through these details because you're going to need to communicate with a lot of different designers. A lot of people will review portfolio websites on their phone and get kind of an initial impression of who you are. And if you're a designer, your website should be designed. It should be, it should be clear. Have an artist look over it and look at composition, and it should be easy to find your best stuff. I shouldn't have to go hunting for your best stuff. So put that at the top or the front or however your website is organized so that your best stuff is the thing they see first. Make it easy to email you. Make it easy to find your LinkedIn because that's what they're going to want to look at, and make it easy for them to download your resume in multiple formats, PDF, Word, all the good stuff. I really like to ask, what is your favorite game? And then off of that, what is the thing that you would change about your favorite game? Because if you just say nothing, it's perfect, we have problems. Uh, the other thing that I like to ask is, tell me about a time that you've made a mistake at work and how did that resolve? And what I'm looking for is that you took ownership of your mistake, that you communicated to others about it, because if it's a secret and all of a sudden blows up in people's faces, that's not good. And then that you took steps to either fix it or got help getting it fixed. If I don't see those three things, then I have some concerns about your communication with the team, which is honestly like skill number one as far as game dev. Look for the little sub projects, the little sub problems that other people really, really don't want to mess with. So in Mafia 3, there was a subsystem that only one person was working on and needed help with, which was spawn profiles, which basically sets up how an NPC looks and how they behave. And nobody wanted to deal with it, but everybody needed it. So I raised my hand and said, I have time. I'm a junior mission designer, and took me on. And sure enough, all the other designers are coming to me to set up their spawn profiles because everybody needs NPCs. So find something like that nobody wants to deal with. The cover system, for example, in Mafia 3 was another one. Find ways to make yourself useful, and there are ways. You do have to teach yourself a little bit, and it might be a little annoying or mind-numbing tasks, but that is the way. If you throw yourselves into those tasks, that is the way you ingratiate yourself into the older designers, and they will help you out and give you good recommendations when the time comes up. I was initially a contractor when I came on. I moved from Texas to California with no health insurance and no promise that I was going to get a job beyond a year, but because of all of this work that I put in, they converted me to full time eventually. The hardest part is probably when you you think you've worked so hard on something and it comes out and uh, the gamers don't think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Like this thing that you've poured your heart and soul into and you think is awesome. Like, yeah, it's rough around the edges, but the core is good. And then having the feedback come back that, you know, that they didn't like it. That that's awful. And but there's you do the best you can, and you put out the best best possible thing that you hope will give people joy and meaning, and if nothing else, just kind of an escape. And that's all you can do at the end of the day, is just put your heart and soul into it and hope that it goes well.